Okay, phase 4, contract to close. We got a house, let's do this. Going back, my first video is just kind of an overview of the home buying process and the 4 main phases. The next video is phase 1, doing a deep dive on that, which is the preparation phase. If you skipped over that video, please go back and watch that one before watching the following videos, because that is the most important step in the process, something you absolutely want to watch. Then phase 2 is the home search phase, how to find a property that you truly do love and what to expect during the home search process. Phase 3 was the offering video, where I did kind of an explanation of how to determine what to offer on the home and what to expect as you are putting an offer in on the property. And that gets us to phase 4, contract to close. What should you expect and plan for after you get your offer accepted? So a lot of people will ask me, how long does this whole process take? Well, up to contract to close, the process from starting the planning and then home search and then getting offer accepted, it can take as little as 2 days. It can take as long as 6 months. It's really dependent on you as a buyer on how fast you want to move. Some people move quicker, some move slower. It's totally up to you on how fast you want to go. There's zero pressure from us. We move at your pace, but it just really depends on how fast you want to go as the buyer, and then also to some degree that homes come on that you're interested in as well. But once you get your offer accepted, you can plan on basically a 30-day close from that date to get possession of the home and have it actually closed and be the legal owner of the home. You don't own the home when your offer is accepted. You're just now in a pending status, meaning no other buyer can buy it as long as you close on it. So what should you expect in phase 4? Well, the first thing is our team's contract to close coordinator will reach out to you and will help you coordinate your earnest money. We have a full-time person on our team, and her sole job is simply to help our clients from when the offer is accepted to closing on the home. This requires an immense amount of coordination. She will help coordinate with the escrow company, the title company, the lender, the listing agent, the lender, of course. And like I said, so there's all these different people that she is balancing going between to try to keep things on track and to make sure that you understand what to expect on different days and different milestones of the contract to close phase. So, but earnest money will be the first thing. Earnest money is like a deposit when you're buying a house. It's not an additional cost. It's one of the most misunderstood parts of buying a home. So I just want to be very clear with you. Earnest money is not an additional cost. Every dollar you put in for earnest money is a dollar less you'll bring to the closing table. Because of that, it's a subjective amount on how much to put down for earnest money. You can put as little as 1% down, you can put as much as 3% down. It becomes a variable in how strong your offer is. If the home's gonna be competitive, I do recommend 3%. If it's going to be not competitive at all, you could totally get away with 1% and be just fine. But just remember, it's going to reduce your cash to close dollar for dollar. You're gonna bring in that much less money for your down payment or for your closing costs. So the earnest money is due within 2 business days of when your offer is accepted. So you want to have quick access to those funds and just make sure that you can get them to the escrow company as quickly as possible. You don't want to have a delay there. It could result in the home coming back on the market, which you do not want to have happen at this point. At that point, we will help you coordinate your inspection. So we take care of this for our clients. We will coordinate with one of our 3 vetted and verified inspectors. These are certified, bonded, insured, licensed inspectors that do this professionally for a living. This is not something they do part-time. This is their full-time job. They're exceptional at what they do, and will help one of them come out and inspect your house that you're trying to buy. The buyer pays for the home inspection, but guys, this is money very well spent. You'll know exactly what you're going to get. It's typically $400 to $600 for a home inspection, but again, it's really cheap insurance to make sure you know that you're not inheriting possibly a very big problem in the home. I'm not worried about nitpicky little cosmetic things. That's not what an inspection is for. And a home inspection is to make sure that you don't inherit a huge issue like a structural problem, a major mechanical issue, things like that. And most often those show up in places you cannot see when you're walking through the home. They could be in the attic, they could be down in the crawl space. Things like rodent activity is very common. Black mold is very common in Washington as well. But you're not gonna know unless you have an inspector really go through all those items. So we'll help you with that when it gets to that point, but plan on budgeting about $400 to $600 for a home inspection. Just know that it's money very well spent. At that point, if there's any repairs that need to be done to the house, I will negotiate that for you. And that could look like the seller fixing the issue before closing, or it could look like them giving you a credit for the amount it would cost to fix the issue, and then you fixing it once you actually move into the house. So there's a credit that's a possibility, and there's also just them straight up fixing the issues as well. Of course, the seller can say, no, they're not gonna fix different issues, and just reject that request, and then you have to decide if you want to still move forward with buying a home or not. An inspection contingency is a very broad contingency in real estate. It allows you to back out of the transaction for any reason that you want. So, if there's something really big that comes up, or if we cannot come to a reasonable agreement with the seller, then you can just simply back out at that point. We get your earnest money back, and we go find you something else that doesn't have all those inspection problems in it and that you're more comfortable with. So just always know that that is an option. At that point, once we're through the home inspection negotiation process, it's the appraisal time. So the appraisal is done by a neutral third party that your lender hires, and they come out to make sure the home is worth what you're paying for it. If the home doesn't appraise for how much it's under contract for, the seller has to either A, drop the price to the appraised amount, or B, put the home back on the market. Most often they will drop it to the appraised amount because any other buyer is going to have the same issue that you just had on getting a home to actually appraise for the purchase price. So it's not very common that it comes up as an issue, but it does happen from time to time. I had it just happen the other day to one of my clients, and the seller simply reduced the price by $15,000 to the appraised amount. It was under contract at $500,000. It was appraised for $485,000, and they dropped it to $485,000 because that's what it was appraised off. So very simple. The cost of the appraisal is paid directly to your lender at closing as part of your closing costs. So just know that. I do have a video on closing costs, to expect with that. I'll link it down below so you can check that out. But the appraisal is typically part of your closing costs. Okay, so at that point, you'll have your final approval, which is really the underwriter signing off on your appraisal to make sure everything looks good. The underwriter is the person at the mortgage company that really truly approves your loan and says, yes, this looks good to go. Let's fund this mortgage and get these people closed on this house. At that point, we like to go back and do a final walkthrough. So we go back a day or two before the closing day with our clients, and we just want to put our eyes on the home one more time. It's usually been 20 to 25 days since we've last been in the home during the home inspection, and we just want to make sure everything looks good before closing. Were all the inspection issues actually fixed? Are all the appliances that are supposed to stay still there? Is the home reasonably clean? And has the seller actually moved out? These are all issues that I've seen come up before, and you will not know that it's a problem unless you do the walkthrough before closing. What I know to be true is that on closing day, when the seller gets their money and the listing agent gets paid, it's really hard for me as your buyer agent to go back and fix a problem for you. They just don't have any incentive to do anything at that point. So if there is an issue, you want to know about it before any money changes hands, and that's why we do the walkthrough. If there's an issue at the walkthrough, the seller has not got their money yet, and I will pump the brakes as your agent, say, hey, this issue is not fixed, it needs to be resolved before closing, and we will not close until it's resolved. And you have all the leverage at that point because you're at the closing table. So a walkthrough can save you a ton of headache and possibly a lot of money as well, and something I highly recommend doing. That brings us to signing the loan documents. It's really the last step in the process. The escrow company will call you and they'll have you sign the loan documents a day or two before closing. Oftentimes that will happen at our office or at their office, and it takes about half an hour. You're gonna sign about 2 inches of paperwork, all of your lender's documents, and the escrow company will explain to you what these documents are as you're reviewing them. So just remember, you don't own the home when you sign those documents, just the final step really in the process, okay? And then that brings us to closing day. This is the day that everything is led into at this point. It's the most exciting day of the process, and we'll typically get notified between 4 and 6 p.m. on closing day that you're legally recorded as the new owner of this house, and we will meet you out there the same day with keys. Do not plan to move in on closing day, and in fact, give yourself a couple days wiggle room in case there's any kind of delay that pops up. But just know that the home is yours typically on closing day, and typically between 4 and 6 p.m. we can get you keys to that house. But don't plan to move in the first thing that morning. Plan on the following day or even a few days later to make sure you have plenty of wiggle room on timing. So that is the final part of the process of buying a home. That's the 4 phases. The first phase, preparation phase; second phase, home search phase; third phase, offering; fourth and final phase, contract to close. I hope that that was really helpful for you. If you're ready to sit down with me and really walk you through how to customize this process to your own unique situation, then definitely reach out to me. I look forward to helping you find the perfect home.